The question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the honourable member for Braddon.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I would like to congratulate the honourable member for bringing this motion before this chamber and the parliament, as it is important that this parliament we recognise the fantastic work done by so many in Australia to support people with a disability. From parents, caregivers, support networks, disability organisations, research institutions, there are so many in our nation who make a contribution towards improving the lives of people who live with a disability. I would also like to congratulate all the finalists and winners on the 2016 awards. There is an amazing cross-section of people who are all working hard and making a difference. Although I do note that my electorate and Tasmania as a whole did not have a nominee for the 2016 awards, but that is not to say that the Tasmanian community does not make a contribution. In fact, in 2015 we had a finalist from my electorate, the Wynyard Yacht Club, in the Excellence for Community Accessibility category. Led by Chris Simons, who is unable to work more than 10 metres unaided due to a rare degenerative condition called Kennedy's disease, the Wynyard Yacht Club has created a sailability program, an initiative providing open access sailing experiences to the elderly, to children and people with a disability. Chris has invited me to go sailing with him soon, and we shall be sailing on the Inglis River in a very, might I say, very small section of Bass Strait in a sailability craft. I'll be sure to take some quells that day. As mentioned, this club was a finalist in the 2015 National Disability Awards and has won Sailing Australia's Club of the Year and Australian Sports Commission's Community Club of the Year. The sailability programs brings people to the club from all over Tasmania and recently has installed a lift to enable greater access to the clubhouse for elderly members and those with a disability. Wynyard Yacht Club has also nominated to host the sailing events at this year's Masters Games, which will be held in the northwest of Tasmania. The club already possesses sailing yachts that allow people with mobility issues to compete, and the recent addition of the lift adds to the club's inclusive environment. Mr Acting Speaker, the Wynyard Yacht Club, like every other winner and finalist of the National Disability Awards, is an example of what we can do as a nation that prides itself on supporting the development of an inclusive society. A nation that prides itself on supporting the development of an inclusive society is actually the words of the Honourable Assistant Minister for Social Services and Disability when she announced the finalists for last year's awards. I'm confident that if the Honourable Member or Assistant Minister were to have a conversation with any of the previous National Disability Awards finalists and winners, they too would be appalled by this government's move to link funding of the NDIS to cutting payments to pensioners and other vulnerable people in our community. It is not a very inclusive society when we play one vulnerable group off against another to fund the NDIS, while at the same time wanting to give big business a $50 billion tax break. I would hope that the Disability Assistant Minister and those on the other side are arguing the case to have this plan reversed. Mr Acting Speaker, families that live with a disability need the NDIS and certainly do not need it treated as a political football. Already it is making an enormous difference to people's lives in my electorate. One such person is Mandy from Smithton, who explained to me the two reasons why the NDIS is important to her and her family. The first being that the old system did not allow respite. Mandy's daughter Sarah suffers from Rett syndrome and epilepsy. The NDIS means that once a month Mandy and her husband could have some respite. Before the NDIS, many low-income families simply could not afford respite even when it was available. Importantly though, Mandy and her husband know that their daughter will be cared for if something happened to them or they both became ill. Their minds are at ease. They know that their daughter's NDIS plan is there with provisions for when they are not around. Sarah would go into a group home, but most importantly, that group home can be in the local area of Smithton. It would be devastating to remove Sarah from her local area. As the locals know her, the area is her home. Mandy is now concerned that without proper funding, this may not happen. What will become of Sarah into the future? So, Mr Acting Speaker, it is great we celebrate people and organisations that are part of the disability sector. Their passion and commitment to overcome so many challenges should be recognised, and they deserve this House's congratulations. But if we are truly to become an inclusive society, the stupid political games have to end, and the NDIS delivered in the way it is meant to be.
I thank the honourable member. The question